woman was sitting there in such a doleful attitude with her hands clasped straight out upon her knees and her face looking so steadily before her. "What are you looking at?" asked Mr. Bell, coming to the window and standing behind Margaret. "Nothing," she said, rising up quickly and speaking as cheerfully as she could at a moment's notice. "Nothing indeed. A black background of trees, some white linen hung out in the sweet briar hedge, and a great waft of damp air. Shut the window and come in and make tea." Margaret was silent for some time. She played with her teaspoon and did not attend particularly to what Mr. Bell said. He contradicted her, and she took the same sort of smiling notice of his opinion, as if he had agreed with her. Then she sighed, and putting down her spoon, she began, apropos of nothing at all, in the high-pitched voice which usually shows the speaker has been thinking of some time on the subject they wish to introduce. "Mr. Bell, you remember what we were saying about Frederick last night, don't you?" "Last night? Where was I? Oh, yes, I remember. Why, it seems weeks ago. Yes, to be sure, I recollect we talked about him. Poor fellow." "Yes. And do you recall that Mr. Lennox spoke about his having been in England about the time of dear Mamma's death?" asked Margaret, her voice now lower than usual. "I recollect. I hadn't heard of it before. And I always thought Papa had told you about it." "No, he never did. But what about it, Margaret?" "I want to tell you of something I did that was very wrong about that time," said Margaret, suddenly looking up at him with clear, honest eyes. "I told a lie." And her face became scarlet. "True, that was bad, I own. But what I have told a pretty round number in my life. Not all in downright words, as I suppose you did, but in actions or in some shabby, circumlocutory way leading people to either disbelieve the truth or believe a falsehood. You know who is the father of lies, Margaret? Well, a great number of folk, thinking themselves very good, have all sorts of connections with lies. Left-hand marriages, second cousins once removed. The tainting blood of falsehood runs through us all. I should have guessed you as far away from it as most people. What? Crying, child? Nay, now we'll not talk of it if it ends this way. I dare say you've been sorry for it and you won't do it again, and it's long ago now, and in short, I want you to be very cheerful and not very sad this evening." Margaret wiped her eyes and tried to talk about something else, but suddenly she burst out afresh. "Please, Mr. Bell, let me tell you about it. You could perhaps help me a little. No, not help me, but if you knew the truth, perhaps you could put me to rights. This is not it, after all," said she, in despair of not being able to express herself more exactly as she wished. Mr. Bell's whole manner changed. "Tell me all about it, child," said he. "It's a long story, but when Fred came, Mamma was very ill, and I was undone with anxiety and afraid, too, I might have drawn him into danger. And we had an alarm just after her death. For Dixon met someone in Milton, a man named Leonards, who had known Fred, who seemed to owe him a grudge, or at any rate would be tempted by the recollection of the reward offered for his apprehension. And with this new fright, I thought I'd better hurry Fred off to London, where, as you understand from what we said the other night, he was to go to consult Mr. Lennox as to his chances if he stood trial. So that is, he and I, went to the railway station. It was just one evening and was just getting rather dusk, but still light enough to recognize and be recognized. And we were too early, and we went out to a walk in a field close by. I was always in a panic about this Leonards, who was, I knew, somewhere in the neighborhood. And then when we were in the field, the low red sunlight just in my face, someone came by on horseback in the road just below the field stile in which we stood. I saw him look at me, but I did not know who it was at first, the sun was so in my eyes. But in an instant the dazzle went off, and I saw it was Mr. Thornton, and we bowed." "And he saw Frederick, of course," said Mr. Bell, helping her on with her story, as he thought. "Yes, and then at the station a man came up, tipsy and reeling, and he tried to collar Fred, and overbalanced himself as Fred wrenched himself away and fell over the hedge of the platform. Not far, not deep, not above 3 feet, but, oh, Mr. Bell, somehow that fall killed him." How awkward. It was this Leonard's, I suppose. And how did Fred get off? Oh, he went off immediately after the fall, which he never thought he could have done that poor fellow any harm. It seems so slight an injury. Then he did not die directly? No, not for 2 or 3 days, and then... Oh, Mr. Bell, now comes the bad part, said she, nervously twining her fingers together. A police inspector came and taxed me with having been a companion of the young man whose push or blow had occasioned Leonard's death. That was a false accusation, you know. We had not heard that Fred had sailed. He might still be in London and liable to be arrested on a false charge, and this identity with Lieutenant Hale, accused of causing a mutiny, discovered he might have been shot. All this flashed through my mind, and I said it was not me. I was not at the railway station that night. I knew nothing about it. I had no conscience or thought but to save Frederick. I say it was right. I should have done the same. You forgot yourself and thought for another. I hope I should have done the same. No, you would not. It was wrong, disobedient, faithless. At that very time, Fred was safely out of England, and in my blindness, I forgot there was another witness that could testify to my being there. Who? Mr. Thornton. You know he had seen me close to the station. We had bowed to each other. Well, he would know nothing of this riot about the drunken fellow's death. I suppose the injury never came to anything. No. The proceedings they had begun to talk about in the inquest were stopped. Mr. Thornton did know all about it. He was a magistrate, and he found out it was not for the fall that had caused the death, but not before he knew what I had said. Oh, Mr. Bell. She suddenly covered her face with her hands, as if wishing to hide herself from the presence of the recollection. Did you have any explanation with him? Did you ever tell the strong, instinctive motive? The instinctive want of faith and clutching at a sin to keep myself from sinking, she said bitterly. No, how could I? He knew nothing of Frederick. To put myself to rights in his good opinion was to tell him the secrets of our family, involving, as they seemed to do, the chances of poor Frederick's entire exculpation. Fred's last words had been to enjoin me to keep his visit a secret from all. You see, Papa never told even you. No, I could bear the shame. I thought I could, at least. I did bear it. Mr. Thornton has never respected me since. He respects you, I'm sure, said Mr. Bell. To be sure, it accounts a little for... But he always speaks with you with regard and esteem, though now I understand certain reservations in his manner. Margaret did not speak, did not attend to what Mr. Bell had to say, lost by all sense of it. By and by, she said, Will you tell me what you refer to about reservations in his manner of speaking to me? Oh, simply, he has annoyed me by not joining in my praises of you. Like an old fool, I thought everyone would have the same opinion as I had, and he evidently could not agree with me. I was puzzled at the time, but he must be perplexed if this affair has never been in the least explained. There was first your walking out with a young man in the dark. It was my brother, said Margaret, surprised. True, but how was he to know that? I don't know. I never thought anything of that kind, said Margaret, reddening and looking hurt and offended. And perhaps he never would, but for the lie, which under the circumstances I maintain was necessary. It was not. I know it now, and I bitterly repent it. There was a long pause of silence. Margaret was the first to speak. I am not likely ever to see Mr. Thornton again. And there she stopped. There are many things more unlikely, I should say, replied Mr. Bell. But I believe I never shall. Still, somehow, one does not like to have sunk so low in a friend's opinion as I have done in his. Her eyes were full of tears, but her voice was steady, and Mr. Bell was not looking at her. And now that Frederick has given up all hope and almost all wish of ever clearing himself and returning to England, it would be only doing myself justice to have this explained. If you please, and if you can, if there is good opportunity, don't force an explanation on him, pray. But if you can, will you tell him the whole circumstance, and tell him also I gave you leave to do so, because I felt that for poor Papa's sake I should not like to lose his respect, though we may never likely to meet again. Certainly, I think he ought to know. I do not like you to rest under a shadow of impropriety.
He would not know what to think of seeing you alone with a young man."
"As for that," said Margaret rather haughtily, "I hold it is only soi qui mal y pense. Yet I should still choose to have it explained if any natural opportunity for easy explanation occurs. It is not to clear myself for any suspicions of improper conduct I wish to have him told. If I thought that he had suspected me, I should not care for his good opinion. No, it is that he may learn how I was tempted and how I fell into the snare, and why I told that falsehood, in short."
"Which I don't blame you for. It is no partiality of mine, I assure you."
"What other people may think of the rightness or wrongness is nothing in comparison to my own deep knowledge, my innate conviction that it was wrong. But we will not talk any more, if you please. It is done. My sin is sinned. I have now to put it behind me and be truthful evermore if I can."
"Very well. If you like to be uncomfortable and morbid, be so. I always keep my conscience as tight shut up as a jack-in-a-box, for when it jumps into existence, it surprises me by its size. So I coax it down again as the fisherman coaxed the genie. 'Wonderful,' says I, 'to think you have been concealed so long and in so small a compass that I really do not know of your existence. Pray, sir, instead of growing larger and larger every instant and bewildering me with your misty outlines, will you once more compress yourself into your former dimensions? When I've got him down, don't I clap the seal on the vase and take good care I open it again, and how I go against Solomon, wisest of men who can find him there.'"
But this was of no smiling matter to Margaret. She hardly attended to what Mr. Bell was saying. Her thoughts ran upon the idea, before entertained, but now which had assumed the strength of a conviction, that Mr. Thornton no longer held his former good opinion of her, that he was disappointed in her. She did not feel as if any explanation could ever reinstate her. Not in his love, for that in any return on any part she had resolved never to dwell upon, and she kept rigidly to her resolution, but in the respect and high regard which she had hoped would have made him ever willing, in the spirit of Gerald Griffin's beautiful lines, to turn and look back when thou hearest the sound of my name. She kept choking and swallowing all the time that she thought about it. She tried to comfort herself with the idea that what he imagined her to be did not alter the fact of what she was. But it was a truism, a phantom, and broke down under the weight of her regret. She had 20 questions on the tip of her tongue to ask Mr. Bell, but not one of them did she utter. Mr. Bell thought she was tired and sent her early to her room, where she sat long hours by the open window, gazing out on the purple dome above, where the stars arose and twinkled and disappeared behind the great umbrageous trees before she went to bed. All night long, too, there burnt a little light on earth. A candle in her old bedroom, which was the nursery with the present inhabitants of the parsonage, until the new one was built. A sense of change, of individual nothingness, of perplexity and disappointment overpowered Margaret. Nothing had been the same, and this slight, all-pervading instability had given her greater pain than if all had been too entirely changed for her to recognize it. "I begin to understand now what heaven must be, and oh, the grandeur and repose of the words, the same yesterday, today, and forever. Everlasting, from everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. That beautiful sky above me looks as though it could not change, and yet it will. I'm so tired of being whirled on all these phases of my life in which nothing abides by me, no creature, no place. It is like the circle in which the victims of earthly passions eddy continually. I am in the mood of which women of another religion take the veil. I seek heavenly steadfastness in earthly monotony. If I were a Roman Catholic and could deaden my heart and stun it with some great blow, I might become a nun, but I should pine after my kind. No, not my kind, for my love of my species could never fill my heart to the utter exclusion of love for individuals. Perhaps it ought to be so. Perhaps not. I cannot decide tonight." Wearily, she went to bed. Wearily, she arose in 4 or 5 hours' time. But with the morning came hope and a brighter view of things. "After all, it is right," said she, hearing the voices of children at play while she was dressing. "If the world stood still, it would retrograde and become corrupt. If that is not. Looking out of myself and my own painful sense of change, the progress of all around me is right and necessary. I must not think so much of how circumstances affect me myself, but how they affect others. If I wish to have a right judgment or a hopeful, trustful heart. And with a smile ready in her eyes to quiver down to her lips, she went into the parlor and greeted Mr. Bell. "Ah, Missy, you were up late last night, and so you're late this morning. Now I've got a little piece of news for you. What do you think of an invitation to dinner? A morning call, literally in the dewy morning. Why, I've had the vicar here already, on his way to the school. How much does the desire of giving our hostess a teetotal lecture for the benefit of the haymakers had to do with his earliness, I don't know. But here he was, when I came down just before 9, and we are asked there to dine there today." "But Edith expects me back. I cannot go," said Margaret, thankful to have so good an excuse. "Yes, I know, so I told him. I thought you would not want to go. Still, it is open if you would like it." "Oh, no," said Margaret. "Let's keep to our plan. Let us start at 12. It is very good and kind of them, but indeed I could not go." "Very well, don't fidget yourself. I'll arrange it all." Before they left, Margaret stole round to the back of the vicarage garden and gathered a little strangling piece of honeysuckle. She would not take a flower the day before for fear of being observed, and her motives and feelings commented upon. But as she returned across the common, the place was reinvested with the old, enchanting atmosphere. The common sounds of life were more musical there than anywhere else in the whole world. The light more golden, the life more tranquil and full of dreamy delight. As Margaret remembered her feelings yesterday, she said to herself, "And I, too, change perpetually. Now this, now that. Now disappointment and peevish because all is not exactly as I'd pictured it. And now suddenly discovering that the reality is far more beautiful than I'd imagined it. Oh, Helston, I shall never love a place like you." A few days afterwards, she had found her level and decided she was very glad to have been there and that she had seen it again, and that to her it would always be the prettiest spot in the world, but that it was so full of associations with former days, especially of her father and mother, that if it were all to come over again, she should shrink back from such another visit as to that which she had paid with Mr. Bell. End of chapter 46. There's a Glalie in chat for those playing PCG. Feel free to pokey catch. So that was a long one. I told you guys that it would be. Where I said, like, there's one chapter that we're going to read tonight that's essentially 2 chapters. That one was almost an hour. Almost an hour of straight reading for Old Snooze. But it was important, right? There was a lot that we had seen. The visit to Helston, Margaret's expectations, right? When she came to Milton, she had all these opinions and feelings of what it would be like to return to the South. And she came to the South and it didn't stand still for her. And a lot of the things that were so dear ended up being a little bit disappointing. Those memories are so tied to her mother and her father, and going back and visiting the same old people and kind of having to do that explanation over and over. My mother died, and then my father died. And now things are different here. In a sense, it was closure, but in a much sadder way than I think she was hoping for. And then, of course, we have the debriefing of what happened on the last night that Margaret saw Frederick, and where Mr. Thornton now has the opinion that Margaret could be in trouble, right? He thinks that Frederick could be her lover, that she was out walking around at night with, and then she lied about her whereabouts, and a man died. And so Mr. Thornton obviously can only infer, especially in the etiquette of the day, that there's some shady stuff going on, and Margaret might be
hiding something because she's in trouble. And now Mr. Bell, who I love Mr. Bell, his inability to take anything very seriously is kind of a breath of fresh air. We've had, through Margaret's eyes, she's been very stressed and very strained. She's experienced profound loss and is grieving. But Mr. Bell is kind of there to be like, oh, well, they, this and that, and I'm such an old man, I'm so silly. And he kind of like has this, he's a very intelligent man. And I think we can see that he has this veneer of like, he is a great observer of humanity. And he kind of uses his sense of humor to like have people not take him quite so seriously. And people end up confiding a whole bunch of stuff in him. We have seen people get alone with Mr. Bell, and he finds out stuff from the innkeeper, Henry Lennox, Mr. Thornton, Margaret, Mr. Hale. Like he kind of is disarming, I guess, in his with his like inability, at least in his speech, to take anything seriously. And so it kind of reminds me of the meme, and I haven't really seen this part of like Doctor Who, but like the Whovians might know what I'm talking about, where it's a bit like, he is the one who has all the spoilers. And in like Doctor Who, they talk about like the person whose hair is so big that it holds all the spoilers. Kind of makes me think of that. I see Crazy snuck in here. Hey, Crazy, how's it going? Oh, Fatangle got a rock on the Cricketune. Has anybody gotten one of the Pokemon that's in a Halloween costume? I want to see those. I want to see the costumed Pokemon. I think that would be really funny. So again, as we're kind of wrapping up our hangout tonight, I did want to reiterate, we talked about this earlier in the stream. We'll be finishing both Anne of the Island and North and South on the 29th. And both Anne and North and South is going to be pretty short reads. So we will be able to do our annual tradition of reading The Raven. If we have time, I'll have a short, like, creepy story set aside if we need to, like, fill a little bit more time. And then, so starting in November is when we'll be reading Something Dead, which is the self-published horror novel of a local author who has given us permission to read on stream. Also, next week, I'm going to be pushing story time back about an hour. Mama and Papa Snooze are getting an award in the afternoon going into the early evening. And so I'm just going to be running a bit late. I want to be there for like their celebration. But then it should be like kind of wrapping up around like normally when we'd start streams. So just give me some time to like get home and get ready. And then we'll get to our normal reading. It'll be slightly pushed back, of which I'm sorry to our Eastern friends. I know it can be late until the daylight savings time, which is coming up, I think. I'll have to check exactly what day, because my stream time if you observe daylight savings time, my stream time will be shifting by an hour. When things are changing. I believe this upcoming shift is the one that makes it we're an hour off of Eastern after the change. And then it's 2 hours off of Pacific, is that? I always have to double check. Very confusing for those who do not observe daylight savings time, because my stream is always on at the same time. 3 behind Eastern, 2 behind me. Okay. I got it. So yeah, we have, I think another 3 chapters to read of North and South. And next time, another 2 to 3 of Anne of the Island. And then we'll be doing 2 to 3 of Anne of the Island on the 29th and 2 of North and South. I think I'll have to just take a look with like, there's a couple like long chapters in here just to make sure that like everything times out well. But we only have 5 chapters remaining of North and South. And then I think also 5 chapters remaining of Anne of the Island, which is somehow like timed it perfectly. And it kind of worked out precisely well, which I'm happy with. Thank you guys so much for dropping in on our Stream Raiders battle. This is our final one of the evening. We had 14 allies on that battlefield. I think we are going to be in good shape to take these guys out. Oh yeah, no problem. Wait, we lost? What just happened? How did we die? We had so many dudes. Well, I spoke very confidently. Alas. Well, I'm sorry that we're losing. We're ending tonight on a losing battle, but I appreciate all of the units, you guys. So I guess my next stream is going to be Friday, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific. It's going to be a gaming stream. We finished the Just a To the Moon beach episode on last Friday. We shed a few tears, and always a great discussion that comes along with those games. But we'll see where the week takes us. If we want something a little bit more like on the silly side or like chill, cozy side. But we'll be gaming on Friday, and then I guess kind of the next streams ahead. Adam and I will be back on Monday with our Baldur's Gate. We kind of had some battles that kicked our asses a little bit last time. So we'll see if we can, resolve our issues more peacefully next time. We'll see. Our next story time will be 1 week from today, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, for our continuation of Anne and North and South. A note, our dear friend Slevin now reads on Sundays. They have started the Island of Dr. Moreau. And so definitely be sure to come by and check Slevin out. I've not read Dr. Moreau, and it's one that I've been curious about, so I'm going to definitely be trying to listen in as I'm able to and hang out. Yeah, that is about all that I think we have for today. So let's take a little look. Let's see if we have a rating read. Oh my god, a reading raid. I clearly can't speak anymore. Now that we have our own category for writing and reading, I've been really enjoying that we've been able to find some new friends with in the category. Now, we were kind of all spread across different categories. Some people did just chatting, some people did ASMR, some people were under reading fun, some people like me were under talk shows, some people were under other side games that they would like have alongside, anything like that. So now we're all in one place and we're kind of like finding each other and being like, hey, reading friends. Oh my goodness, Myco Psycho. Speaking of reading friends, Myco Psycho is one of our brand new reading friends. Thank you so much for bringing your community over here. How is the reading? And what were you guys up to today? We were just finishing up our final chapter of the night of North and South. But welcome, everyone. For those who haven't met me before, my name is Snooze. I'm a variety gaming and classic literature reading streamer from Canada. On Tuesdays, we do read some classic lit. We warm up with a children's story, and then we finish with some adult literature. So right now our choices are the third book in the Anne of Green Gables series. I'm Canadian. It's sort of a Canadian classic. So we've gone through a few of those books already. And then North and South, which is a sort of culture clash romance. Think of like a smash between like a Jane Austen, but also with like the labor relations and sort of social commentary on economy and conditions of living as Charles Dickens. We're kind of coming up on the last weeks of both of our books. We'll be finishing both of them on the 29th. And then come November, we'll be starting a brand new book. We have been given permission by a local self-published author to read a scary story that they wrote live on stream. The cover was also designed by our stream artist, Thistlecay, who has lent her talents to emotes and panels and things like that that you see around on stream. We're reading Depart by David Graeber. Not familiar with that one. Let's take a look at it. Let's learn. Debt. Okay, I was like, my brain was like, department. Oh no. I'm like sort of losing my ability to like speak words. So, interesting. So it's anthropology about like the history of debt and economics. Wow. Going back to the first agrarian empires, humans have used elaborate credit systems to buy and sell goods before the invention of coins and cash. Interesting. That sounds fascinating, actually. I haven't read a ton of like economic history like this. But at the start of the year, I read a book that was like a series of lectures on food through history, starting back to like sort of these agrarian societies and, how did we first like have animal husbandry and what were the things that we know from anthropology that we first cooked through food. It probably touched on like some of the same things of like how people were living. But of course, this one was kind of touching about like how did we develop ingredients and things like that, and how did notions of cooking first start. You'll love this book. It sounds pretty good. It sounds really interesting. So I have the Goodreads tab open. Sorry, you guys, for that Pokemon spawn that nobody caught it. It's probably our last Pokemon of the night. Apologies, Myco Psycho, that you caught us just as we were kind of wrapping up ourselves. But we'll probably continue with like a reading raid. So be sure to stick around for some more reading. Oh no, not at all. It is so nice of you to think of us and to come on in, and yeah, I'm really really interested to hear about this story. On Goodreads, it says that I was like wanting to see like, oh, does this author have any like newer books? And it sounds like unfortunately he has passed away. He passed away in 2020 during the pandemic. So this is probably one of his like last big tales, you know. It looks like the most recent one was Bullshit Jobs, which already I'm curious about the title. The title right away grabs me, of course. Is his most famous? Okay. Good stuff. Well, thank you for the recommendation. I'm definitely going to check it out. I'm really behind on my reading goal this year, so I'm looking for some enjoyable ones that are like a little bit snappy that help me catch up on my backlog a little bit. So let's take a little look here. Looks like Alan and Bill the Duck are on. Yes. Okay, I think that's where we're going to be going then. He has really important things to say, or had rather. Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I haven't. I had them on my list from your recommendation from when we last chatted, Mike Oseko, and I haven't had a chance to drop by, but it looks like they're still going. So I'd love to come and hang out with them. If you guys wanted to see a duck read you some tales, we are in luck. So let's enjoy some more reading vibes continuing on tonight. So again, I will be back on Friday with some gaming. Haven't decided what game we're going to play. We'll see if I, need like a chill Friday, or if I'm going to like let off some steam a little bit more. But I'll be back reading on Tuesday, 8:30 Eastern, continuing our 2 classic literatures. All right, you guys. Let me just make sure. I'm just going to copy paste this to make sure I'm typing the name correctly here. But we are going to go meet another new reader tonight, Alan and Bill the Duck. Can't wait to check them out. All right, you guys. Thank you for another wonderful reading night. Another big thank you to Mike Oseko for that raid. It was really great of you to think of us. And as always, my friends, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Stay safe. Know how much I appreciate you being here. And take care. Much love. Have a great rest of your night, you guys. I will see you guys on Friday. Have an excellent remainder of your week. Let's carry these excellent vibes forward. I'll see you soon.